There are three systems that are different between a process-driven small business and one that is disorganized, chaotic, or feeling a little stressful. I know this because I've spent the last 8 years helping thousands of small businesses systemize their operations. And when the rubber hits the road and you're actually going through the things that you need to do in order to have a business that runs without you, these three systems are the ones that make or break your success. The first system we look at is often communication, because if you have a small team especially, and you are spending a ton of time in meetings, emails, or Slack messages, it's probably a sign that things aren't operating as efficiently as they can. Organized teams tend to centralize their communication. They only message in one spot, or maybe they have multiple spots, but they have very clear line in the sands as to when you use this versus when you use that. The chaos-driven teams almost always have the opposite reality. They use Slack, they use email, they use Teams, they also have a task tool, and oh yeah, that new app they use for their virtual co-working space also has a messaging tool in there as well. And unlike the organized teams, they don't have clear lines in the sand as to which one you use. One person might be using WhatsApp, someone else might be using email, and still another person might be doing none of those things and just calling somebody up whenever they have a question. Breakdowns in a communication system are going to show symptoms similar to overwhelm. I'm going to feel like I have so much to do because there's communication everywhere, even if my task list is pretty achievable. The second symptom I might have is a sense of missing things. I'm constantly in my inbox. I'm constantly at inbox 0, and yet I feel like there's stuff happening that I just don't know about, and then I'm surprised and caught off guard and having to rush because I just wasn't informed. Number 3 communication breakdown symptom is meetings. When we have a team that's not communicating efficiently when they're not together, they usually compensate by having too many meetings when they are together. So for a virtual team, this will mean Zoom meeting chaos. For an in-person team, this will mean a lot of huddles. But extra meetings is usually the main symptom and compensation we'll see for inefficient communication systems. And the fourth piece, and this one is the most painful to me, is we will start to see human duct tape show up. We will have somebody on our team who just raises their hand and says, you know what, I hate this, I'm going to be the one to make it right. And so she, and yes, it's usually a she will take on the extra work of retyping information for other people. She will make sure the stuff in Slack ends up inside ClickUp, and that the notes that are in Teams somehow end up in the client file as well. Because we can't get ourselves together and communicating all in the same spot, we end up wasting someone else's time to clean up our messes no matter where they might happen. This is a huge time cost for small teams where every minute counts, and yet it's the most common compensation I've seen for communication system breakdowns. While communication breakdowns tend to happen because there are too many channels that are too decentralized, knowledge system breakdowns, which is our second system, tend to break down because of the opposite reason. With a knowledge system breakdown, we may have taken the step as a team to start writing down helpful information. We might have a spreadsheet of all of our costs. We might have a link to our brand guide. We might have standard operating procedures of common instructions. All of that is great. And yet, we do not have any reason, connection, link, anything to connect that information to where work is actually getting done. So what ends up happening is we end up having silos. We have the work we have to do, and then this giant library of Wikipedia stuff that we never look at again. This is a knowledge breakdown. We think we have stuff documented. We think we know how work should be done. We think we have systems, and yet in reality, none of it is being utilized. A lot of clients will have come to me and say, hey, we've tried to systemize before, it didn't work. And they'll go on to say that they had an operations leader or an outside consultant spend hours and hours and hours documenting all of these processes, put them in a library. Why isn't anyone using them? And then I have to be the one to tell them, well, of course they're not using them. They weren't a part of creating them. And what you created is probably not accurate to what they actually use or need in their job. And that's a fundamental problem. To fix this knowledge system breakdown, we need to stop separating doing the work from documenting the work. These are one and the same. Documentation and system stuff in general are just there to make the job of the worker easier. That means we want to have authorship by the people doing the work. That means we want to have the documentation, the templates, the checklists right there where work is happening. Work documentation needs to be where work happens, and it needs to be authored by the people who know the work best, which is often not leadership, Definitely not operations leaders. It is the people who know the work intimately. When we break down these silos and bring this work together, not only does documentation actually get used, because God forbid it's actually helpful, but it also gets updated over time because it's right in their face. Every time they have to do a job, they see that checkbox, it's out of date, and either they'll manually scratch it out with a pencil or they'll tell you, hey, we need to change this. When we actually have documentation where work happens, it's reviewed, it's used, it's trusted, and it is maintained. That is not the case when we have a separate silo where data is here and action is somewhere else. Now, speaking of getting things done, there is nothing more important to a small team than getting things done. Our clients hire us to make sure that their book gets published. They hire us to make sure their irrigation system is installed, to make sure their haircut is done, to make sure their renovation is complete. These are all the jobs to be done, and that's why small businesses have such a valuable place in our society. We're not innovating pie in the sky, we're getting shit done. And yet, task management is one of the last areas I will see chaos-driven teams organize. For most teams by default, tasks are things that are just conversations that we hope we both remember. Maybe sometimes we'll have Excel spreadsheets, sometimes we'll have sticky notes, oftentimes we'll have a notebook for one person where each person writes down their stuff. But what this ends up creating is more silos. Just like the chat communication example from earlier, when each person is keeping track of their own tasks and it's never shared, there is no accountability. If someone doesn't do something on time, we don't know if it's actually their fault or if they just didn't know, because it's not clear. Clear is kind, and when it comes to deadlines at work, that is no exception. So the system we want to have in place to have a strong process-driven team is that we have task management, who, what, when, centralized, shared, and transparent at all times. So if we say, hey, Josefina is going to make sure that the ClickUp template is installed, we write that down as a task. Every promise and micro promise and client deliverable and deadline and call and meeting, all of those things are commitments we are making as a team. And if we're serious about our commitments, and especially if we want to actually achieve those commitments, we need to record them so we are actually held to account, so we can look back and say the next week, hey, did we do what we said we were going to do or not? For most chaos-driven businesses, which is the default state, there's no judgment here, by default, many small businesses do not have this in place. They're relying on their head to keep track of all of the things they need to do. And that's just not realistic. Here, as a business owner at ProcessDriven, I have about 80 routines in my business. Things I do weekly, monthly, daily, fortnightly. One of them I have to do every 10 years. These are routine things that I have to keep track of, on top of all of the normal stuff and creative stuff I have to do in my job. And to just say I'm going to just memorize that I need to file this thing at the Pennsylvania tax registration every 10 years is absurd. There's no chance I'm going to be able to keep all this straight and also keep my hair attached to my head. I don't want any more gray hair. Thank you very much. And so we need to develop a task management system to fill that void and to hold us together and allow us to actually follow through on our promises. But a lot of times I'll share this information with folks and they will say, well, that makes sense, but we're not doing that bad. The people I know who run businesses, they have even less than we do. So am I really that disorganized? Or maybe it's just a people issue or a me issue. Maybe there's something else I need to fix before I focus on this process stuff. Well, I actually made a free quiz to help you find out. In the description of this video, you will find the snapshot. It is a free operations assessment, asks a ton of questions, and tells you definitively, here's where your business systems are strong or weak compared to 5,000 plus other businesses that we have had take this assessment. Totally free in the description below. And I'm sharing this with you because I really genuinely care about how organized your business is. Not just for your own sake so you can sleep well at night, but for your team. Small businesses are the biggest employers in the United States, and I would bet the biggest employers across the world. And even as there's private equity buying up all these businesses and turning them into soulless drones and AI agents trying to run the world, I think small businesses have tremendous staying power. And if we as small businesses really want to rise to this occasion, I think we have a job to do. We've got to figure out a way to make our businesses efficient enough to be profitable so we can pay ourselves and our staff well. We need to figure out ways to centralize work so we can onboard and train people easily. That's a big one for small businesses. So we can make sure that the knowledge we have stays in our business, but that people can join our team quite easily. Number 3, that we can make sure that the way we treat our employers and ourselves has clear boundaries. Not that we need to have some kind of hippy-dippy work-life balance, but you should be able to take a vacation and not have the business shut down because of it. I can't tell you how many times I've met with small business owners or their office managers who aren't able to take a vacation on a Monday because Monday is payroll day. That is not okay. That's not a sustainable model for us long term, especially here in the US where our relationship with work really needs to learn from other countries. I think the things it takes to systemize your business is the exact same things you need to be able to sell your business, and those are the exact same things you need to have a business so good you would never want to sell it. That's the whole premise behind the book, Built to Sell. But that's why I'm so passionate about this. And if you find yourself falling victim to some of these chaos-driven traps and you're like, shit, we do that in our team, know that these are fixable. These are fixable steps that you can take actions today to rectify. And it all starts by taking the free quiz in the description below, clicking subscribe, by watching this next video, and enjoying the process.